everybody, this is Peggy for Cropstop.com, and today I want to show you how I made this awesome little card. It's Creative Layers. These are new stamps that I just received. They're Claudine Helmuth Studio stamps, and they're foam ones and acrylic ones. Let me show you how you can get this card. First I'll show you some of the things we're going to use. Again, we are going to be using the Claudine Helmuth stamps. There are foam stamps, which look like this. And then she has the layers, and she calls it a Creative Layers stamp collection. And there's the acrylic ones. So we're going to be using the Bloom collection. She has got some really neat, oh, I thought there were some pictures on the back, but there aren't. Some really neat other brands that you can get that she's got. There's houses, there's all different kinds of things. So check over Cropstop. They've got a large variety of those that you can get. And let me just show you some of the other things. Of course, we're going to be using our studio paints. You know I love her paints. And I've said many times that they are just the highest quality acrylic paint you can get. They never separate. I haven't opened this one for months probably. And you don't have to stir it up. There's no oily junk on top. And it just is like a creamy. I love that. I'm going to use that. Again, some of my Memento inks. I love those. Use them all the time. And then I'm going to show you a really neat way that you can use your little foam applicator and put the paint on your acrylic stamps. We're going to stamp with that. Well, let me clear some things off and we'll get started. Now, when you get your package of foam stamps, they will be hooked together. You just bend this plastic back and forth until it breaks apart, and then you've got your little applicator right there on the back. So look at all these stamps you get. We're going to be using the flower and the little, I don't know what you call those lines, but they've got that really neat circle, which is here. That's how I got the yellow part. But you get leaves to go with your flowers, so you get really a lot of little stamps in that little set. And then the matching ones obviously match. And so there are all my acrylics. So there are a lot of different ways we can use these stamps. What I've done here is just to show a few different things, how it looks when you first stamp it. So I'm going to show you the little techniques on how to do that. The first thing we're going to do is to use some of our paint. Let me get my little piece of paper ready here. This is just regular cardstock. No big deal about that. And I'm just going to take a little bit of this paint and put it on my craft mat. You all know by now that I love my craft mat. We're going to spread it out just a little bit. I always close it up because I don't want it to get all, stiff on top there. Then we're going to just simply take our little stamp, move that one out of the way, and we're going to start blotting it. What's really nice about using this paint, it's going to give you texture, and as I know you probably have heard me say a bazillion times, that I love texture. Let me get a little bit more in there. Can you see that on there? See how the paint kind of glops up, and when I stamp it, I'm going to get a really nice texture. Now I'm going to go back and try and get a little bit more paint on that corner, and a little bit more on that just by tapping it in there. That one's perfect. Now let me tap that one. Now remember, when you're doing this, oops, I tapped it too hard. You don't want to push and move because it will slide on you. And on this one, I'm not going to use my stamp pad. I'm just going to simply stamp right in the center, straight down, and press. And then lift it up. There you go. Now what I will tell you is you want to really immediately wipe this paint off. If you leave it on your foam too long, it's going to get hard, like like your tires get hard after a bazillion years, they get hard. But this will dry on there, and then your foam will not absorb any other mediums that you put on there. So let me wipe that off real quick, and we're going to give that a second to dry. I'll hit it with my heat gun. I'll be right back. Now I went ahead and just hit that real quick with my heat tool just to make sure that it was nice and dry, and it is. Now I'm just going to use my black Memento ink, and I'm going to ink up my acrylic stamp. I like to make sure there's a lot on there. And then we're just going to match up the petals to make sure. Now what's really neat about this, it's going to give you what I've been told is the 30s look to your stamping. So you're going to get that off. Do you see how it's kind of, what do you call that? Not in the line, so it's out of the line stamping. But anyway, it's two-step stamping, but it gives you kind of that 30s look of the way they used to do advertisements and things. Let's see how we did. Aha! Awesome. Check that out. Is that like too stinking cool? Now, we could leave it just like that and stamp other things around it, put our sentiment on there. But as you see on this card, what I did is I cut it out, just not real close to the edges, and then I pop dotted it with some foam tape and put it on there. And that's how I got my flower. Now let me show you a couple other things that you can do. Let me wipe this off, and I'm going to put some paint on there using my foam applicator. So I'll be right back. Now again, I'm just going to put a little bit of this paint out on my craft mat. Don't need a lot because I'm just going to stamp once. I love this color, sky blue. Isn't it beautiful? And this time I want to use my acrylic paint or my studio paints on my acrylic stamp. So I'm just going to put a little bit on there and start tapping it. If I were to tap this down in there, it would get down, well actually it's still getting in there a little bit, not as much. You just barely tap it on there. There we go. That looks pretty good to me. Let's see how that looks. And then this time I am going to bring in my stamp pad so that I get a really nice even pressure on there. So we're just going to stamp it down and let's see what it looks like. Oh, I didn't get enough paint on the center. Doggone it. But there you get the idea that you can use your acrylic paints. So you want to make sure, yeah, I didn't get enough paint on there at all. Right on the center there, that you put a little bit more paint. Okay? So that's one way that you can use your acrylic paints. Let me show you one more thing to do. Let me get this out of the way and wipe it off real quick. Because again, you want to make sure you get those paints off your stamps. Alright, let me get rid of this here. Some folks had said that, excuse me, that you could not use the regular Memento ink on your foam stamps, but I want to show you that you can. Let me find where that went. There it is right here. I'm going to use this one because I loved the way the green showed up here, and then on the card I used it just as a background. So let me show you how neat that turns out. So I'm just going to do this. And because this foam is really nice and dense, it really does pick up this ink. You can also use pigment inks, of course. And I wouldn't suggest using, what's that one kind? A StazOn ink. I would not use StazOn ink with these foam stamps. That's just a personal thing. Nobody said not to, but I don't think I would. Okay, so again, just going to bring this right in here. Stamp straight down. Give it a little pressure. Make sure it does. Look at that. Is that too stinking cool? Now there's enough ink on here that you can do a shadowy look. So let's press it again. There you go. Look at that. Is that too cool? And that's what I did. Let me bring this back in and show you. That's what I did on these leaves. I stamped my leaf and I thought there's got to be enough ink on there to do one more, and then I did. On this one, as you can see, I used the black Memento, and on this one I used the green Memento and got that. This is called cottage green, is the color I was using there. So, now we've got that part. Let's go ahead, just to give you the idea. They all are going to stamp off, so they're not supposed to be right on the lines, and that again is how you get that 30s look that they're talking about. Now, let's see, I want to go this way, and again, stamp straight down. What's nice is they're acrylic. You can kind of see to get the lines in there a little. There's that one. And you know I don't want to waste anything, so let me go ahead while I've got this inked up. And let's do the other one, because I will probably cut those off and use them for something really cool, I'm sure. There you are. And that gives you the look. Is that like too stinking cool? I just love these stamps, and I love the fact that I can use my Claudine Hellmuth paint on there, and I can use my ink. So it gives me a large variety. I don't know that the camera, I'll see if this one shows it any better. I don't know if it does or not. This one does show you a little bit of texture. I used a little bit heavier ink on, or not ink, paint on this one and got a little bit more of a texture on this flower, and I really like that. You can't see it as well on this one. There is texture there, and I love texture. And then I just found myself a Versus stamp. Isn't that cool? Life isn't about finding yourself. Life is about creating yourself. So why don't you hop over to cropstop.com and get yourself some of these really awesome Claudine's, her collection of clear stamps and her creative layers. There you are. All right, have a great day. Bye.